time ever. We're doing us a video out here in the barn. Today I have to clean the carburetor on a 5500 watt TroyBilt generator. It's kind of, I guess you could say, old, but it's in pretty good shape. It's a little dusty, whatever. Now, I've already drained, there was no gas in it, so that was good. And I changed the oil in it. I cleaned up the spark plug because I don't have any extras at the moment. I got to buy another one. Alright, this particular model number is 01919. Now down here in Florida, you know, we got a hurricane maybe coming. Probably not going to affect us at all. It's kind of down south some. But it's always good to have these things running and going. And I've narrowed, this has a automatic shutoff for low oil, which is a good feature actually. But if your oil's low, it won't start. So there's plenty of oil in it. So that leaves one thing, because it does start, but it cuts back off. Actually, it leaves a couple of things. If it doesn't work after the carburetor, then I got to take the gas tank off and check the fuel filter, which I haven't changed. So more than likely, that could be clogged. It's pretty dependable. It's got a Briggs & Stratton 10 horsepower motor on it. It's actually a Briggs & Stratton generator. They just rent the name from TroyBilt, but still, you know, it's always done me pretty good. So I'm gonna get started on that, and hopefully we'll have this thing running in an hour or so. This is either going to be a how to clean the carburetor video, or it's going to be how to make up new cuss words and throw shit at the wall. So we'll see. Anyway, let's get started. Okay, as you can hear, I got the radio going. There's a couple of fans going, so we're in the shade. It's nice, sort of nice day out. Anyway, this right here is the air filter and the backing plate, and right behind that's the carburetor. This is your choke. To do this, you just pull that straight up and it comes off. Okay, and there you go for that. I keep putting my finger in front of it. So now, as you can see, there's two nuts here, one here and one here, that have to come off to take the cover off of the air filter. So we're going to do that now. Okay, so I took off the cover. This is the air cleaner. You just pull that off. Okay, and this here is a backing plate. Okay, you got two nuts in here that need to come off. These are all one piece. Okay, all one piece. So these come off, and these are actually the bolts right here that hold the carburetor in also. So what we're going to do is take these two off. Now for this here, for the air cleaner cover, I use 1/4-inch drive with an 8mm deep well socket and a 6-inch extension on it. So I don't know. You can figure that out for yourself. It ain't that freaking hard. If you got a set of sockets with, you know, SAE and metric and all that, you'll be fine. So anyway, we're going to take off this backing plate now. Now, as you can see, that's the carburetor right there. Okay, that's where the choke is. Right there, that thing I pulled off. Okay, and this hose right here, let me see if I can get it in there. That's your air hose going into the backing plate, which is some fucking word around here. And it goes some damn where. See, we got a good gasket on there still. Alright, but anyway, you put it in there and it comes in really good. So you put that in through there. That's the top. Okay. This goes over. This goes to this air hose right here goes through this hole and hooks in. And this other hose, we just push that aside somehow. This hose right here, as you can see, that going into the carburetors from the gas tank, straight from the gas tank. So you just, there's a little clip right here. You loosen that up, pop that right off. It may have to work it off a little bit if it's been on there a while. Mine was off yesterday, so it should come right off. Also, on taking the backing plate off, okay, that was a steel 1/4-inch drive. All this can be done with a 1/4-inch drive. Also, a 7/16 long socket, deep well. All right, so there you go. Now we're going to take the hoses off and then get to work on these two nuts right here, these two bolts, and get them out. Now, one thing I failed to say, and that's my first DIY video, you better make sure up here, way up in here underneath, where it comes out of the gas tank, I can't really show it, but there's a an on-off switch for the gas. You want to make sure that is off or you're going to have gas all over the place. Very important. It's probably the first thing you should do. As a matter of fact, if you're fixing this, it should already be off, because when you turn off the generator, you turn off the gas. So, thanks. Okay, so I got the carburetor off. All right, it was stuck on there from being on there for a long time. So I use this tiny little ball peen hammer. Barely tap it. You don't want to crack the housing or anything silly like that. If you have a rubber mallet, that would work. Just barely tap it. Especially in wintertime, because this stuff gets brittle because it's metal. Alright, now as you can see, you got your linkage here. There's two links. Okay, you got to be very careful with them. They're a little bit of a pain in the ass to get off, but if you just are gentle and work with it, it'll be fine. Now, the two machine screws I took out of here to get this off have a funny looking head on them. And I'm looking here at, I think this was I can't remember the damn size, a 4mm did it. Okay, but just crack them loose and then use your fingers. It's kind of a star hex kind of end on it. You don't want to strip nothing out. Anytime you can use your fingers, the better off you are. If you need to mark stuff like the hoses and all, listen, you're sitting in your fucking garage. Nobody can make fun of you for that. It's pretty self-explanatory, but, you know, just do what is going to get it put back together. Because, you know, once you get it cleaned, you actually want it to go back on. So, anyway. We'll do that. Alright? There you go. Okay, so in this case, this came right off, and it was no problem. As you can see, there's two of them. Right? There's a little tiny thin one, and then there's the big piece. Alright, the holes are coinciding to the size, so it's all good. Alright, now we have this off, and it's time to take it apart. So we're going to head over to the workbench and go see what we can do over there. What kind of damage. Okay, so now we're at my little work table I got here, which actually was here when we moved here on our porch, and I just brought it out here, but it's made wood and it worked pretty good. Okay, some gas is probably going to come out of here, either from here or here. Okay, and as you can see, it did here. And it's got some garbage in it. So we got to get that stuff out, and we're going to figure it out. The way you do that is you have to get these two right here and on the other side nuts out of here. You can see the water, or I'm sorry, the gas just pouring out. Does not look like it has any water in it, which is nice. Okay, I like that a lot. So, but anyway, we got to get those two off. Now, every video I've watched on this on YouTube, these were like in here like there's no tomorrow. So you have to be very careful. Make sure you start off using a flathead screwdriver. It's probably worked. The grooves are pretty deep. And if that doesn't work, you may need to use a pair of vice grips. I've seen that done 3 or 4 times. However, When you have something like this, you use steady pressure. You don't try to ape it off, or you're just going to end up stripping these out, and then you got a problem because you got to go find these right size, right everything to get them in, you know, to put this back together. And that tends sometimes to be a pain in the ass, and they're probably $12 from Briggs & Stratton. So we're going to take those two off and take, this is the bowl. We're going to take the bowl off. Here we go. Fucking motherfucking goddamn rat fuck bastard screwdriver. Bitch! Okay, so we got the bowl off. I ended up having to use the China locks. Broke one of my little screwdrivers. I thought I had made that sound like it had cracked loose, but it didn't. But anyway, these are the little screws. Don't lose them. They're not stripped out, as you can see. Okay, and I just stuck it on there, and slow and steady, nice pressure, and it came right off. Like to take half my finger off with the screwdriver that broke, which is nice. And what we have... So what we have is, this is the bowl, and as you can see, I don't know if you can actually see it, but, you know, it's not new, okay? There is a little bit of crap in there, but it's mostly just shit needs to be cleaned up. Now, this little comes out of here, this little spring sits right in here. Hold on, I'll get to it. As you can see, all right, sits right in the middle of these three little prongs, just sits there, all right? And that, on the top part of that goes in here, okay? But you got to be careful. Don't lose this spring, or you'd be held trying to find another one. Now, this actually doesn't look as bad as I thought it was going to be, but you never know until this whole piece will come out. All right, so we're going to do that right now. Okay, so this is the interior of your carburetor. You can see that all the gaskets are in nice, good shape still. Nothing broken, nothing screwed up, nothing like that. So we're all happy. This piece just literally slid right off. You may, in yours, have to work it off a little bit. As you can see, there's a little pin right here that holds this top on. And all you got to do is you push it to one side and just pull it out. And whatever you do, don't lose it. So let me do that. Okay, so that came right out, no problem. This piece is your pin. Okay, and what you have here is your lid, and as you can see right here, there's a groove, and this is actually the bottom facing down. This will slide right into that groove. From the looks of it, it's in good shape. All right, it's not crushed or warped or anything, and nothing at all like that. So I'm pretty happy with that. It looks like this is going to be a fairly simple job. Oh God, I should have never said that. Watch us getting it back together. Okay, so now we're going to clean it. Okay, so we damn near got this whole thing back together again. All right, the pins back in, both of them. As you can see, you need to move that back in just a little bit. Now this will only go on one way. Now I'm going to show you. All right, you got a couple of notches here, see? So what you do is just slide that on there and feel for the notches, and it should slide right in at this point. Also, when you're done cleaning it, you need to dry it. And some of these parts are very tiny, so you have to be very careful they don't go flying across the garage floor, which is no good. In this case, they're not. As you can see, this is a lot cleaner than it was before, and hopefully this will get us going good. All right. Now that's back on. We felt around. This has to be flush. If you put it on into the grooves in the wrong way, it will stick up just a hair, at which point your float bowl will not go back on there. All right, so this is flush now. So the float bowl will fit nicely over the top and the spring that goes in here. All right, and everything will be beautiful. Okay, so now it's all back together. We got the screws battened down. I just used a screwdriver here and tightened them as hard as I could with my hand. And you got to make sure you do it evenly, because if not, and it's just a hair off or less, it's going to spill gas, and it's probably either not going to run at all, or it's going to run badly, and you're going to lose all your gas out of it. All right. So make sure you do that. Also on this side here, where it goes up against the engine, you gotta, make sure that's pretty clean so that it goes on as a nice clean thing. Technically, you probably should change the, if you can, and have access to it, the gasket that goes on here, but that's up to you. Okay, to put this sucker back on, first thing you gotta do, alright, is put the linkage back on. I put the small one on first, the big one on second. It goes right back in, it's beautiful. And then we get our two machine screws, just put them back on. When we do this, you start them by hand. Anything you can either take off or put on by hand, do so. You end up with a lot less problems later. I see a lot of guys that use power tools. They probably got a lot of experience. If you don't have a lot of experience doing this kind of work, you don't want to screw up the threads, because then you got just another headache. Okay, so it's attached back on. We put one in, we tighten them down as far as we could get them, both of these, okay? Then we took our socket and wrench, and one side, then the other side, then the other, so it goes down nice and even, and make sure they're tight. But not so tight that you're stripping out these, because that's just gonna make your life a pain in the ass. You gotta do it again. A well cared for generator could last you 10 to 15, even 20 years, I've heard. But this is part of the maintenance program, so you don't want to screw yourself up for the next time. Okay, now you can see I put the gas line back on first because it's just easier to get to, and that's beautiful. Now we're going to put the backing plate back up on here so we can put the air filter back in, then we'll see if we can crank her up. Okay, when I took off the backing plate, this nut fell down into here, into this shroud, and down that way, and my hands weren't big enough to get at it. Okay, so what I did is I got my handy dandy magnet. You buy these usually for $1 or $2 at any auto parts store. They come in handy quite often, and just stuck it in there very gently, felt around, and it came right out, because as you can see, it's magnetized. A lot of stuff on most of these small engines are not aluminum or anything, they are metal, and that got to be one of the reasons for it, because them goddamn Chinese can fit their frickin' hands anywhere in here, but I don't know. They are geniuses when it comes to that. So anyway, we're going to put the backing plate back on now. We've already got our air hose hooked up into the hole. Okay, that's all it does, just goes in that hole right there. You bring this around, you line up your nuts here on the generator, not your body. Alright, and the camera work here sucks. I need an assistant. Anyway, now that's back on, and you again hand start these until you can't do it anymore, till they're just snug on there, and you do the other side the same damn way. Okay, it's a little bit, I got big fingers and hands, as you can see. I spent a lot of time bleeding because of it, but nevertheless, just keep. Alright, if you have experience, obviously you don't first of all need this particular video, and second of all, you'll probably just use a ratchet to do this. And the way, for those of you who do not, alright, you can get the correct size socket, put it on the end of an extension like this, and just do this number once you get it started. Okay, and that'll tighten it down. Then you add the ratchet. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, so the backing plate's on. I took the socket and ratchet and everything, put on here and here, back and forth, back and forth. They are nice and tight. They're not over tight. They're nice. Okay, so all is beautiful with the world. Then all you got to do is take your choke. Okay, now this will only go on one way, and you stick it down. As you can see, there's a hole right here. That's where it goes, and there's a post right underneath it. Now there's this little niblet here, and there's a notch for it, so you'll know you're going in the right position, and just push it down. All right, and there you go. Now put the air filter back on, see if this sumbitch will run. Okay, so it's all back together. This is plastic, guys. Okay, you don't want to crank these down to 100,000 psi. You want them on there pretty snug, but you don't want them to crank it down, because especially for you people that use a generator in the winter or whatever, just the vibration of it after a while will crack these right here where the screws are. You need new cover. Okay. In the wintertime, it'll happen faster because this goes from being hot and cold and hot and cold and hot and cold and hot and cold. So, you know what happens then. Anyway, we're going to try to crank this bad boy up, see what happens. Okay, it's been running about 10 minutes, hasn't shut off. I will come out later, start it up, put a load on it, maybe a drill, something like that. I got a couple of old corded power tools I use to check these things with. This one is ready for any service it may need to be. Remember, you got to change the oil every so often in them, and that's usually 8 hours. Look to your owner's manual. If you do not have an owner's manual, find out the model number for your generator and look it up online. It's out there for free from someone, probably the people that put it out. All right. Oil changes in these is exceedingly important. Also, this one still needs a plug, so once it got running, it's smoothed out, but it does need a plug. And it probably needs a fuel filter too, which is not that hard to deal with. And I will be doing so here probably by Friday. But anyway, it runs. We have success. It's something else I've never done before. Now I have done it. This was a relatively simple operation. As you can see, some carburetors are much more involved. This is a TroyBilt generator with a 10 horsepower Briggs & Stratton motor, 5,500 watt generator, and it's got 8550 starting watts. This is where you plug stuff in. This one originally came with a pigtail, okay, that you plug in here. As you can see, hopefully, I don't know if you can see it or not. What the fuck? The camera work sucks. I need a new cameraman. This one, I got it at auction, so it did not come with it. But I do, however, have a pigtail, so it's all good. The one this came with, I think, was 25 foot long. And I believe you could plug in 4 or 5 items, probably, you know, like lamps, small items. Okay? But it does run now. It runs well. I've had this for years. Right now, I'm pretty happy about it. And we'll get to whatever else needs to be done. So, well, didn't make up no cuss words and didn't throw one damn thing at the wall, but hey, we got a running generator. Now I got to go figure out what's wrong with the other one I got, which is a Generac, and that was $1,500 brand new, and it has 0 hours on it. It's never been started, and that's probably the problem. It's been sitting in here for about 6 years. It's got oil and gas in it, and I'm just not getting nothing. It's also electric start, and I can't find a damn charger for it. So we'll have to try to crank it on. But we'll see what we see, and maybe it'll be another video in it. Y'all take care, and thanks for watching. And if you don't complain about the camera work, have a big old cup of fuck you. Bye.